Exactly 21 years ago on this day, me happened, and you all seem to like me, so I figure we celebrate that in the form of a Q&A. I asked you all to send me your most burning questions, and sure enough, you came through for me. So I'm going to go through as many of these questions as I can, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll know a little bit more about me besides my taste in Disventure Camp characters. And because I appreciate you all very, very much, Keithyeti gets to be here too.
You know it's a good video when Keithyeti is here.
Now let's get started, because this video doesn't really need a long intro, and I just kind of want to get into the questions. 20 trillion trees. First of all, thank you for the nice words. I like it when my comment section is nice to me. Second of all, what got you into Disventure Camp and the TD community in general? Now, I discovered Total Drama when I was watching TV when I was... God, I don't remember how old I was, but I was pretty young, and I found Revenge of the Island and All-Stars on Cartoon Network, and I thought both of them were pretty good at the time. Now I only think one of them is good. I found the rest of the seasons on Netflix, and I immediately became addicted to them. After that, I tried to interact with Total Drama in pretty much any way I could at the time. I went to Roblox to play Total Drama-inspired games. I would go to YouTube, type in Total Drama blank, like X any fandom that I was in at the time, just to see what was there. I was obsessed with Pokemon at the time, so that led me to Nikinor 2's Total Pokemon Island series. And after that, I just started devouring these things like candy. There were so many of these types of series, and I think I watched nearly all of them. The nostalgia I have for this series is actually kinda painful. And from there, I started getting into camps, one of which started about 10 years ago and is technically still going on. Now, as for Disventure Camp, I do not remember. I remember finding the beta first, and I watched a couple episodes of that, but I ended up stopping about halfway through because it was bad. And then when Disventure Camp Season 2 started up, a couple of my friends took notice of that, and so I just started watching it with them. The rest, as they say, is history. From Cactus Raw, what's your favorite Pokemon? And if you're not into Pokemon, what kind of music do you like? What are your thoughts on Harold? So I have had the same favorite Pokemon for at least a couple years now, but just recently I went to Cave of Dragonflies to see if that had changed, and it did, and as I was going through the options, I kept thinking to myself, no, there's no way that this Pokemon ends up at the top. But sure enough, it did. And that Pokemon was... And it was on that day that I came to realize that Pikipek is without flaw. I don't care if he's just a basic bird Pokemon, he's my friend, and I love him very dearly. As far as music goes, I've been listening to a lot of African genres lately, namely Kizomba, Afrobeat, and Bongo Flava. I'd recommend pretty much anyone check out these genres, especially if you're someone who works on Mashup Week Megamix and maybe would use one of the songs in there in a track maybe, I don't know. And for the final question, yes, I do think Harold is pretty cool. Wince Media, favorite and least favorite II character. This is probably gonna be a hot take, but my favorite is absolutely Toilet. I love his voice, and literally everything he says and does makes me laugh. He is simply peak. My least favorite is probably Cherries because they're really boring and retroactively transphobic. Is there anything you haven't talked about yet on your channel that you would like to talk about? Oh my god, like you wouldn't believe, there are so many. I would love to reach the level of popularity where people want to check out my videos regardless of what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, seeing as the risotto video completely and utterly failed, I don't think I'm at that level yet. But I am starting to branch out to other topics, and based on what I've seen in my comment section, I know the kinds of things that people want me to talk about. We're gonna get to several of those later in the video. But maybe one day I'll just be able to sit down at my desk and just go nuts, you know? And lastly, I have seen HFJONE. I'm going to keep this part brief because I really want to cover this show in the future. One tackles horror and existentialism in a way that is so compelling and without sacrificing its identity as an object show. It is by far the best story the OSC has ever told, and from what I've seen, I don't think it'll be topped anytime soon. And if you really need convincing, I made my girlfriend watch this show, and she liked it. She fucking hates everything. Thunder Pichu, I appreciate the recommendation, but I have seen Tetra Danganronpa Pink. Okay, not fully, I still need to catch up, but I do know about it and I do enjoy it. Not only that, but I am friends with Ryan Plays, who voices Ojima Takeshi in that series. As for your second question, I really do want to commit to a full Disventure Camp All-Stars rewrite when I have time, so I don't really want to spoil any of those potential ideas in case I end up using them. I think there's room for compromise though. Here is my tier list based on how good a finalist I think every character in All-Stars would be. Although I should specify, this isn't really based on the writing of the season, it's more of a how good would they be on paper sort of deal. Hello Slower Dancer, thank you for sending in your questions. Now let's get to reading them. Are you interested in covering other object shows like Paper Puppets Take 2 or Object Invasion? I refuse to let the world forget about Object Illusion. One day I will cover it, I promise you. As for my favorite BFDIA episode, I'm gonna say Taste the Sweetness. It's very funny, I like how absurd the challenge gets, and Fries is just hysterical. Hedgehog Head, what is your favorite video game? I feel like if I answered with anything other than Smash Ultimate, I would be lying to you and to myself. The hype for this game was fucking crazy, and I was there for every moment of it. I have well over 4,000 hours in this game, and 95% of that is just offline. And I've also played World of Light about 3 or 4 times this year. And as for which BFDI character I'd remove, I'm gonna go ahead and say Loser, since Diamond Cup 67 proved that the show does not need him. Jiroji Takumaku, which tournament do you personally recommend to someone new to the tourney community? If we're talking about mashup tournaments that have already started, I think Megamix is the easiest to get into. We're currently heading into Losers Round 2, which means we have a lot more matches ahead of us than we have behind us. But considering that even now there's still hundreds of tracks to listen to, I understand how it can be a bit daunting to go into things. I recommend ignoring the big playlist at the bottom that has all the tracks in order and instead just choose a specific character playlist that you want to listen to and go from there. That way you can figure out each character's sound and pick out your favorites. But if you're short on time or just don't want to commit to something like that, I would give a listen to all 3 of the bracket tracks because they all do a great job of giving a mini showcase to each of the characters. There is still plenty of time to hop on the Megamix train, and I would highly recommend anyone who's interested in this tournament to do so. But if you're looking for a tournament that hasn't started yet, either because you want to listen to all the tracks as they come out or you want to vote on all the rounds, I'd recommend checking out Alterna Concept or Mashin' Up Tournament. The bracket for these tournaments hasn't yet been revealed, but every character in both has at least one track to help you get to know them, and they're all very good. And while it's not a beginner tourney by any means, I absolutely adore Third World Tournament X and strongly recommend you check it out if you are interested, especially if you live in South America. Hello Dia, welcome back to my channel. Get comfortable. Favorite first boot of any Elimination media? Well, it's Caleb from the reboot, 100%, and I don't think there's any contest whatsoever. Donut from BFDIA is up there though, as is Masayoshi Shido from VGAS 15. Beverage of choice, Welch's grape juice. Am I, wow Dia. So, I make a Q&A for my birthday, and you're gonna use it just to fill your own ego, huh? You know what, Dia? You can be awesome if you read all the things I post and vote on all the things I asked you to vote on. Otherwise, yeah, I'd say you're pretty neat. Jade the Hardest. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be answering all of these questions, but I will get to a few of them at least. Out of the current teams left in TPOT, who is your least favorite and favorite from each team, and why? My favorite on Bagged is Pen because I really like what they did with him in episode 16. I'm really glad we got to see this side of him, and I'm excited to see what happens in later episodes. Least favorite is probably Lai, not because I dislike her, but because I like everyone else on the team just a bit better. My favorite on Team 2 is Price Tag because I really like their gimmick and I think they have a fun personality. My least favorite is Grassy, not because I dislike him, but because I just prefer the other 3 members of this team. Tree is my favorite from Death Pact yet again, if you couldn't tell, and the reason why this is simply because I like his vibe. And he's the underdog, and it's fun to root for the underdog. My least favorite is definitely Fanny, because at this point she's kinda starting to annoy me. And last but not least, my favorite character from Cloud Ye is Donut. He makes me laugh, I like him a lot, and I put both of my votes on him for TPOT 16. I really hope he doesn't get out here, because if so, I would be so sad. Pencil is definitely my least favorite because she's taking up a lot of screen time for a plot that I do not like. Which do you prefer, DCAS or the beta? DCAS for sure. The writing for this season is absolutely atrocious at times, and it really brings down the season as a whole. But even despite that, All-Stars still has a handful of good characters, a couple of good episodes, and visuals that I think are really nice to look at. The beta, by contrast, is just a worse version of Season 1. Unless you're curious to see where Disventure Camp got its start, or you want to see Nick do really well for some reason, you have no reason to watch the beta. Thoughts on Tristan x Benji x Hannah? I want Tristan to return to the game just so they can have more interactions with Benji and their relationship can actually happen. I don't know if Hannah really fits into that, but hey, I'm open for any sort of polygamous relationship in this show, especially given how badly they fucked up the last one. Out of the people from the first two casts that weren't in DCAS, who would you pick to compete again? Probably Dan. Favorite World Tour song? This might sound basic, but I'm gonna go with Come Fly With Us. Not only is it a delight to listen to, but it does a fantastic job setting the tone for the season. Duncan is also very funny, especially at the end. And to add on to that, and to answer your question, Giggly Iggly, here is my entire top 5. 5 is Strip Him Down because I think it's really funny, 4 is Condor because I like Alejandro's segment, 3 is Her Real Name Isn't Blaney because I really like the Russian instrumentals, and the things Jeff says in this song are just so outrageous, I love them. I'm gonna make it as number 2 because this feels like the most climactic song in the season. I especially like the tension between Alejandro and Heather, and Cody and Sierra are a nice inclusion as well. Come Fly With Us is number 1 for the reasons I just stated. Leia Merone, do you like Danganronpa? If so, what's your favorite DR game, and who are your favorite characters? I was a big fan of Danganronpa when I was a teenager. Alas, as I grew older and my standards for writing in video games and media in general started to rise, my appreciation for Danganronpa began to diminish. Of the 3 main series games, I think that Goodbye Despair is the best one, although even that one has a few issues of its own. And as for Trigger Happy Havoc and V3, I see no reason to visit them ever again. Even still, there are a couple of characters from this series that I do really like. My top 3 is probably some combination of Sayaka, Akane, and Kurumi. And if we're including Fangins in this discussion, then every character from Tetro Danganronpa Pink. No piece of Danganronpa media, official or otherwise, is even remotely on Tetro's level. It is the best thing to come out of the Danganronpa franchise, and I am not exaggerating even a little bit when I say that. Jared Salamat, I like these questions. These are good questions. First up, how did you get good at reviewing media? Okay, so you know how most well-adjusted children would, like, hang out with friends after school, pick up a sport, or a hobby? Yeah, I just watched The Mysterious Mr. Enter. There's a lot that I could say about Mr. Enter, but for the sake of brevity, I'll just say that his series, Animated Atrocities, is what got me interested in media reviewing channels in the first place. One day I do want to talk about what it was like to grow up with Mr. Enter, but to make a long story short, he put the idea into my mind. I also took quite a few cues from Schaeferless Productions, which I think should be obvious if you've seen my rankings videos, but it definitely takes more than just watching reviewers on YouTube and copying them. So more than that, I think it helps that I am an avid writer, and studying the media I consume just sorta comes with the territory. While we're on the subject, I'm also going to answer this question by Makeshift Animations, who wants tips on how to make a show popular like Disventure Camp. I'll be the first to admit that I have no idea what goes into the animation process or how to budget a project of Disventure Camp's scale, so I doubt I'll have a catch-all answer to this question, but I do have some advice to help you out on the writing side. Writing stories and reviewing stories goes hand in hand. Depending on the type of media you're taking inspiration from, you may be asking yourself different questions, but for this example, let's say you want to write a show that is like Disventure Camp. I would recommend watching the series again, but through an analytical lens. Think about what parts of Disventure Camp you enjoy, and ask yourself why you enjoy them. Why was your favorite plotline so satisfying? Why is your favorite character your favorite character? Why did you enjoy that one elimination so much? Likewise, think about what elements of Disventure Camp you dislike, and why those parts of the series fell flat for you. Imagine, for example, you're like me, and you hated the final 2 of Disventure Camp All-Stars. You hate Jake, you hate Riya, and you thought that last episode was terrible. If you want to pursue writing, either as a hobby or as a career, you should be able to articulate specific reasons as to why you don't like these characters, and learn from them. I hate Jake because he's annoying is a valid opinion, but you won't learn anything from that. And if you brought this opinion up to Jared, he probably wouldn't learn anything from it either. In my case, I hate Jake because he is A, far more entitled, selfish, and paranoid than in Season 1, making the jump between seasons very jarring. B is consistently involved in multiple petty rivalries that give the season a very bitter and spiteful tone that I do not enjoy. And C is portrayed by the series as the heroic underdog who came out of the season as a more mature, more complete person, despite not showing any signs of maturing at all, making that portrayal seem very hollow, disingenuous, and unbelievable. Recognizing these shortcomings not only makes it clear to me why I dislike Jake in All-Stars, but it also gives me 3 lessons to internalize in my own writing. And the same thing can work for you. If you want to make a show like Disventure Camp, then try studying Disventure Camp to determine what works and what doesn't. And from that, you will figure out a lot of helpful guidelines that'll help you in your own writing. I've seen clips of excellent entities on your channel. What is your opinion about the show and who are your favorite characters? Now, Season 2 is definitely rough to start out, but I think it's still very enjoyable in its own zany kind of way. Season 2 is like if you mixed BFDI with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. These characters can be pretty mean to each other sometimes and pretty stupid almost all the time, so whatever happens to them in the show is 100% their fault, and it's really fun to see that play out. And Season 3 has quite possibly the best comedic timing of any object show I've ever seen in my life. I could not recommend it enough. Anyway, my favorite character is definitely Broomer because he's such an asshole, but in a really funny way. He's kind of like if Fries from BFDIA and Pillow from TPOT kind of fused together personality-wise.
I walked around town telling stupid people to put on diapers to protect them from ray guns, and I told them it was French.
TPOT, protecting you from lasers, sharks, bears.
Shut up, Mango. Do you have any object show plushies? No, I do not. I do not like buying things. Lastly, if you could choose what place Riya gets in All-Stars, what would it be? I firmly believe that episode 6 would have been the perfect time for Riya to exit the show. Everyone else has at least something, narratively speaking, to give them reason to stay in the game past this point. Couple that with how poorly she treated the rest of her alliance, namely Yule, and I think it's perfectly reasonable that they would want to flip on her. This next one is for me and Keithyeti. First up, who do you think deserves to win Disventure Camp Season 4? Anastasia, who is your favorite object show character? Not Golf Ball. Can I adopt Keithyeti? Okay, so, I understand that a lot of you out there are under the impression that Keithyeti is just a silly little Yuri creature and keeping track of him isn't very hard. So let me make this absolutely clear. Keithyeti is fucked up. Keithyeti, please tell our audience what you think of Madoka Magica.
Oh my god, but I can't come Yura, my wonder.
No. I need you to talk about the plot.
Oh. I see. It speaks volumes that this series tackles themes of love, friendship, and justice in the same way as betrayal, murder, and abandonment. A subversion of the magical genre. This is a show where young girls are throwing their lives away in the process. I don't know what happened there, buddy. I think I've made my point clear. Madoka Magica is better than Breaking Bad.
Now explain the Dark Forest hypothesis.
No thank you, Lexi Waybright.
8484 Noobcat. Favorite horror film. The last one that I really sat down, watched, and enjoyed was Emesis Blue. I've never played Team Fortress 2, but I heard a lot of good things about this film, so I thought, hey, might as well. It's free on YouTube. And it was an incredible experience. This film is very smart, it's very gory, it has a lot of really good scares. After finishing the movie, I just sat in my room for like 10 minutes contemplating everything I had just seen, and for a horror film, I think that is a very good sign. I definitely recommend Emesis Blue. What did you originally want to do when you started YouTube? I wanted to make my own object show. It was called Inanimate Onslaught, and it was fucking awful. The jokes weren't funny, the characters were generic, and I had no idea how to animate in Google Slides. The one positive from this show is that it gave me this character, Portal, who I quite like. I used to play in a lot of ORGs, and for my challenge submissions, I would have Portal go on little wacky adventures. Now, I have unlisted all of these videos because some of them did not age very well, to say the least. Granted, I was very young when I made this, and I don't think I ever considered that these Portal videos would make for a career, but yeah, this was the first thing I did.
That's why Keithyeti is the one who channel companion, baby.
Would you ever be interested in acting? I don't think I have the confidence for physical acting, but as far as voice acting goes, you know, there might be some stuff on the horizon. Hello you. Hello you fucking you. What was the process like designing Lexi? Was Cam the one that came up with her character design? What do you mean, character design? I'm not a character. I'm real. I exist in this world. I was created by my parents. No one designed me. Silly. Okay, so the original Lexi Waybright was not made for the channel. My friend Amy was drawing Toho OCs, and at this point I was pretty well known for posting Lechways everywhere, so I decided, fuck it, why not make Amy draw a Lechway girl OC? And that led to the creation of Leslie Waybright, who looks like this. I really like Leslie Waybright a lot. She's very cute, she's very silly. She's so goofy, I love her. So I gave this design to Cam and was like, hey, make a bunch of talk sprites out of this, and that is how Lexi Waybright came to be. When Cam sent me this first pose, I honestly felt like I met my child for the first time. It was a magical experience that I will never forget. And if you, the viewer, would like that same experience with Cam drawing art for you, she has a Ko-Fi. I'm sure she would appreciate your hard-earned money in exchange for drawing things. Okay, back to the video. So in conclusion, I am a real person, and you should not try to convince me otherwise, because that is a very scary thought that I don't want to think about. What are some shows, games, series, etc. that you want to cover in the future? These ones, just to give a few examples. Functional left kidney? To my knowledge, yes. Please do not murder me, Mr. Normal Man. Skohei, how was Keithyeti created? What was his original form?
Oh boy, I can't recount my awesome origin story. I can't wait to share it with you all. I awoke to the sensation of claws digging into my flesh, thousands of bodies pressed against my own. Every breath I drew was met with the anguished cry of my brethren, each wailing and thrashing in an attempt to escape the hot-headed, congested room that we were residing in, though we were prisoners together. My brothers were not my brothers. My sisters were not my sisters. They were warm, helpless piles of flesh, and they were so hungry, and I was so hungry. Then it was loud, then it was quiet, and then we were free. Pretty cool origin story, right?
What's been your favorite video to make, and which one took the longest? The DC1 rankings video definitely took the longest because about halfway through I just stopped editing it because I got distracted with other things. I want to say I had that one in development for about 4 or 5 months before it eventually came out. As for my favorite video to make, it was probably one of these two. I'd been addicted to Mashup Week Megamix for a while now, so being able to talk about it in a video just made me very, very happy. I knew it wasn't going to perform as well as the other videos on my channel, but my goal was to get at least a couple people interested in the project, and from what I can tell, I was successful in doing that. So, mission accomplished, I guess. As for the Season 4 cast reveal video, it is entirely because of Keithyeti. I did not give a fuck about this cast. Keithyeti is the only reason why this video got made, but I had so much fun writing his segments that I decided, hey, you know what? He's gonna be a permanent part of the channel now, because I want him to be.
I am so cool.
Have any of your DCAS opinions changed since the episode 21 analysis? Nope. Which Minutely Object Show character was the most robbed?
Okay. Bye, Stormhill.
Bye.
Wada wada wada, what are you studying? I'm currently working towards my bachelor's degree in creative writing, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job. Did you expect to reach 5K? Okay, this one is interesting because when I first started posting videos, like period, I definitely did not expect that, but I think once I posted the Nichelle video, which is when I started to take YouTube kinda seriously, I realized it would be possible because I hit 1,000 pretty quickly. Having 5K subscribers doesn't quite feel real yet, but I'm sure that I'll get used to it over time. If you could magically create content that is watched by millions and not considering the amount of time/effort put into it, what kind of content would you make? I would make an original web series. Think about a show like Hell of a Boss that is absurdly popular despite the fact that its writing is terrible. I like to think that I can write pretty well, so I really want to put my creative vision out there for people to see it. Of course, the problem with that is that I don't have the means to fund a project of that scale, nor do I have the experience needed to manage it. But I've seen a lot of projects come out in the wake of Disventure Camp, and I have wanted to make a series like that since 2019, and given the audience I have now, making that show a reality is getting closer by the day. And because Ally CD7 has asked about future channel projects, I'm going to take a moment to elaborate on that. Now this project is called Vile Isle. It was formerly called Total Drama Vile Isle, but you know, in light of recent events, maybe I should not call it that. This is the first long-form story that I was ever able to start and finish. And while it's not perfect, I would definitely need to update a few things given that I wrote it when I was, like, 14. I'm still very proud of myself for being able to write something like this, and eventually, at some point in the future, I want to share that with you. Because while I do really love talking about pieces of media that I enjoy, I really want to create a piece of media that someone like me would want to talk about. And this project is definitely a ways away from happening, mostly because I don't yet have the skill set needed to run a project of that size. There's also a few other things that make me reluctant to commit myself to a project of this size anytime soon. But I promise you, when I do start committing to this project, you will know, and I hope that you will tune in when I do. Ooh, this one's interesting. Okay, from Nuggetster. IDK if it's kind of personal or weirdly actually serious, but how do you get motivated and adjusting to the rhythm of scripting, editing, and eventually releasing videos without a real schedule? I don't think I'm the right person to ask about this because I'm pretty bad at managing myself. This is going to sound very selfish of me, but I think the possibility of views and comments and monetary payment for the videos I make has definitely helped me stay more motivated. Another thing to keep in mind is that not all of my videos are scripted. As I became more comfortable talking in front of an audience, I needed scripts less and less. So now, for the most part, the only videos that I need to write scripts for are the big ones, such as rankings and very detailed videos. Which is part of the reason why those videos take such a really long time to make. The script writing part is really easy in my opinion, but having to turn that script into a video that I then have to narrate and edit over, it can be a chore sometimes. So if I were to offer any advice in terms of script writing and editing videos, I would just make sure there are some fun segments in between so you can take a break. Again, going back to the DC4 cast reveal video, I was bored out of my mind trying to talk about the characters. But I was able to push through because I get to do a Keithyeti segment after that, and those were very, very fun. This is obviously an extreme example, but pretty much every scripted video I've ever done has had at least one moment there that's just for me to edit so I could get a break from the monotony of editing. And if you're looking to make videos like mine, then that is the best piece of advice that I can give you.
You hear that, everyone? I saved the channel. You are welcome.
Would you write JoJo Part 5 any differently? Or what would you change? I honestly do not believe that there is anything in Part 5 that needs to be changed. Golden Wind is a phenomenal story, and I honestly believe that if JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was just this part, but like, extended, it would work. I would not dare to change perfection. I would only ask for more of it. Will you do a ranking of the DC forecast once the season is over? Yes, I will, do not worry. What's your thoughts on Jazzy, Paintbrush's new voice actress? I believe that Jazzy understands Paintbrush more than Taylor ever did. Now, to my understanding, Jazzy has only voiced Paintbrush in a handful of episodes, but I don't know, I think they fucking killed it, personally. I know that some people still prefer Taylor, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't think cis people can recognize how amazing this vocal performance is. The things I would do to make my voice sound like this. My god, you lucky... you talented. I hate you. No, I don't. You're amazing. And you can sing too? What the fuck? How dare you be this talented? So what do I think of Paintbrush's new VA? I think very highly of them. That is my answer to that question. Are you still interested in TDI character analysis videos? I am, but now that I'm monetized, I have to find a way around the copyright problem. I'm honestly not sure how to make those videos visually engaging if I don't have footage from the show. Maybe I could use gameplay footage or something, but I don't know. If you have a suggestion for this problem, please leave it in the comment section below. Mr. Epic has brought up the time I played SIU Director. He was by far the most shitposty character on that list, but let me recount to you what I did with him. So SIU Director was one of 3 characters I played in a Fall Guys roleplay, and if you're asking how a Fall Guys roleplay worked, it didn't. It was awful. The first challenge was DoorDash, where SIU Director was unfortunately eliminated. After running into the wrong door, SIU Director broke his hip and was unable to move. As he lay there dying, he was comforted by none other than London Tipton, played by Cam, who sat beside him in his last moments. As for the canon SIU Director, much like the series he originates from, I think he is hot garbage. Who would win in a fight between Forum Freak Show and Guptil89? Now, I wasn't sure how to answer this question, so I decided to send it over to the guy, owner of Mashup Week Megamix, and this is what he had to say. I guess this game's winner is Forum Freak Show. I'd play his victory theme here, but it got taken down and is being reworked, so I decided to take some creative liberties.
Doing your mom? That's just insulting!
Okay, I think we've got time for one more. Circo asks, how did you and Keithyeti meet? I'm sure there's a story behind it. There is indeed a story behind it. You see, I met Keithyeti by chance when he and I were...
Lexi, where are you? I can't see anything. I don't like this. Is anyone there?